Hi, how many of you would say you're great communicators? The understanding of my communication comes from my experience and research of my personal life. Today, I will share how I communicate in my everyday life, specifically nonverbal communication and illustrated gestures. So we'll start with nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication specifically is just communicating or trying to give someone your message without speaking and just using your body language. Okay, it could be your facial expression, your eyes, or just your actions in general. Okay, for example, you could say when you're gossiping with your friends, specifically me, when I'm gossiping with my friends and I don't really have to be quiet, I would specifically use my eyes to convey my message. We would make certain expressions, being like, "Oh, do you understand what's going on?" Right? But just with your eyes. And I would say that's how I use nonverbal communication. Or in a more professional setting, you could have your presentation going on with your partner. And let's just say you want them to elaborate on something. You could communicate that with your eyes or your body to like do a little nudge or something so that they know to evaluate or do more communication or explain more in that project or whatever needs to be explained in that certain professional setting. Okay? So for illustrative gestures, which is I use more often in my life, it's something that is very prone in there and I love using it, which is why I have my little chart on it. So my chart here, you have about 30%, half and half, so 30%, 30% is used for my hand gestures and body language. As you can see in this video so far, I've been using my hands quite often to convey what I'm trying to say. And that is, I think, a very important thing to do because it keeps your audience or who you're talking to entertained. It gives them a way to visualize what you're trying to say. And just having something visually to look at makes it so they pay attention to you more. And that is very good to have in life in general because you want to captivate people when you're speaking, especially if you're giving a presentation in a professional setting, which is mainly what we use communication for. It's just in professional settings to capture the audience that we're trying to capture and trying to make those deals for, So, and then I use 40% of it is my eye gesture, and which is stuff you probably use more in silent places. And that is mainly how I use my nonverbal and my illustrative gestures to communicate with people. All in all, having these communication skills help me understand people and helps me get through situations in a more efficient way and a more professional way, and that can be very useful in the long run, I would say so. And I just think communication in general will always be a very important thing to have and will always be something I love to do, especially using hand gestures. Anyways, if there's any questions, please ask. And yeah, hopefully this was good.